Thanks for tuning in to the Loser Kid Pinball Podcast. We know you thought we weren't coming back. Guess what? It's episode 101.
Whoa.
I am Josh Roop. With me, my co-captain as always,
Scott Larson.
And Scott, it sounds like more pinball machines are being made. Where are you buying yours from?
Well, do you know, I actually did just pick up and I got shipped out the other day is I bought 4 Insider Connected to install in all my games that are compatible with it, but weren't currently installed because I purchased them before. So Zach and Nicole Minnie at Flipping Out Pinball, they've always been good to me. They're really easy to work with. And not just pinball machines. I got banners from them, and you can translate, just all that fun stuff that they've always been really a good friend of the show. So we appreciate their support.
Yeah, if you need anything, just give them a call, give them a text. I like to message them through Facebook because Zach's easy to get a hold of that way. So look at their current list. They just updated it at the end of January. They've got a ton of games on there. Go ahead and hit them up. They will take care of you very well. All right, Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do one shout out before we start this.
Okay.
We'll make our guests wait just a little bit longer.
Okay.
So Jeff Teolis did his top 10 for 2022, and he put us on there at number 8. And I appreciate the words that he said. That was very nice of him. We love you too, Jeff. Like, you're an awesome dude, and honestly, he's kind of been a mentor in some of this as well.
Yeah. Are you sure he wasn't drunk when he made that list?
Maybe. You know what? I have learned from Jeff. He's only sincere like one time out of the year, and it's usually the top 10. So I feel like he was either pulling our leg or he was being very sincere.
He's pranking us. Yeah, absolutely. Jeff's always been a good friend of the show, and Marty too. So today we have a very special guest.
The guest that's been on our show more times than any other guest.
The guest that gets consistently the most downloads.
Yes, and he has been named the GOAT for many reasons. The greatest of all time.
In playing, definitely has that locked up, the greatest of all time player, and rapidly approaching what could be the greatest of all time designer.
I
agree. Josh, who do we have on board?
None other than Keith Elwin. How you doing, Keith?
Hello. Well, I don't know if I have that wrapped up because, when I was in my prime, there was just no tournaments. So, here I am, an old man, and, these kids like Escher and Jared and Neil are just, they're very good, and they're going to have so many world championships to win that, I don't think that's going to last, but I'll enjoy it while I can.
Right.
That had been one of the best finals I had ever watched. It coming down between you and Escher and that bonus there on Flash Gordon. I know you probably don't want to relive it, but how was that experience for you? I mean,
that was great. It's just, I don't do this because I need the recognition. I don't need the money. I do it because I enjoy it. And I would much rather have something like that and lose than just like plow through finals with, that's over before the third game even starts. I think that's boring. The fact that Indisc uses the format where you cannot pick the same game twice through the entirety of the finals. Yeah. So here we are. I was third seed, and Zach McCarthy and Eric Stone were ahead of me. So I was like, well, there's no way these guys are getting knocked out in the opening round. So I used all my choice picks in my first round, and then lo and behold, they got kicked out. Then I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I have to strategically pick up these games. Like some of them I'm not even that familiar with. Like Bad Girls, I had played that once in qualifying, had no idea what I was doing. Didn't even have the right backlash in it. So I was like, what is this game? But I felt comfortable in it, but I had no idea what to do. And I was like, yeah, okay, this is fine. I would never pick this as a pick, but that came back and bit me. But it was fun. It was I watched Escher play, and I was like, oh, they helped to watch somebody good play it, on the screen that they had up there. And I was like, okay, that's what you do. And then so I adjusted my strategy, but yeah, I couldn't quite catch up to him. And then, I was kind of down to do I want to pick Rush against Escher? Not really. Or I can play Flash Gordon. So yeah, I chose Flash Gordon. I own one. It's a fun game, but obviously it's a drain monster.
Yes.
So the fact that him and I mean, even he was just like, I can't believe I came back on Flash Gordon. I hate this game. And so I was like, you know what? That was such an exciting ending. Yeah, even though I lost, it was just like, it was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was fun for us too. I mean, that was quite intense. I think between that moment and Travis Murray getting a 0-0,
Yeah.
I think were the two best moments of that final.
Travis going for the donut. Yeah.
Yeah, I have not seen anything like that since an EM where like the old Gottliebs that they didn't care if he had 0. And it's like, wow, I think all of us were like, what? I cannot believe he didn't get disqualified. I mean, that would have been awful for him to just walk up and plunge player 4.
Oh yeah.
Because he didn't notice the different blinking scores. So yeah, good on him for keeping us aware of such a thing exists.
Yeah. I think we were all pretty shocked in that moment.
His face said it all, which was great.
Yeah, he just like looks up, looks back. Huh?
But it's great to see you going up against Escher. It's given us quite these games over the last, I've been watching the last few years now, and it seems like you and Escher at some point in every leading up to a final go into the same group with each other. And so it's kind of cool to see the young versus the talented and the experienced and
the seasoned
player. It's just really cool to see kind of a transferring of the torch, so to speak. And these young kids it's getting scary how good they are.
Well, they cheat. They have YouTube now. I mean, when
that's fair. Yeah.
When we were playing in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was like they come across a game you'd never seen before. You can't watch a video on it. You can't watch any flipper skills. And so I actually think, all these streamings and the rigs that they've come out with and everything has really helped, promote these kids getting so good so fast, because I think pretty much all of them, their parents are into pinball, and
right.
You're like, oh, how do I play this game? So they'll watch a Carl stream or whatever, and it's like, okay, this is how you blow this game up. And so they'll take that same approach, and all of a sudden they're just as good as the rest of us. And so we have to rely on picking these older games. So we still have that going for us.
Well, and those older games really are brutal, so it gives us quite a spectacle watch too. So
yeah, I mean, it depends on the game. Flash Gordon obviously is pretty brutal, but some of the games that they had there at Indisc, like Surf and Safari and even Bad Girls, it was pretty controllable, even though there were no ramps or anything. They were controllable.
What, I guess, I don't know if you want to give this information away, but what is your go-to old game if you have one in a tournament?
Usually it's Frontier. I wasn't crazy about how the one there played in Classics too, so it became Supersonic. That's just a game where you do absolutely nothing with the right flipper but tap S to the left flipper, and I'm pretty good at that, so that was my go-to game.
Nice.
In finals, it was High Speed, because I've just been playing that game since it came out, and I love it. And yeah, I probably have more time logged on High Speed than probably any other game.
That's including the games you've made, huh?
Yes. Oh my God. Once my game gets released, I don't want to play it for a year.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you played Godzilla?
Actually, I played it just a couple of days ago, because we have a minor update coming out for the Carl's thing he's running. There's some couple minor bugs, and then we put a little tribute to Dean Grover in there, because he passed away since the last code update. And yeah, he did a few modes on the game, so we want to make sure that we recognized everything he did, and so we put a little tribute in there to him. And yeah, just cleaned up some bugs. Yeah, so that's the last time I played it. But last time I played it for fun, it's probably been a while. My girlfriend plays it all the time, but I'm usually like, yeah, I think I need another 6 months, and then I'll want to play it again. And it's the same with all my games. After Jurassic Park came out, I didn't want to play it for a year. Same with Avengers. But it'll come around when I'm not playing it to look for bugs or code ideas. Then it becomes fun for me.
I've actually been playing Jurassic Park a lot the last 2 weeks. So even though I've been playing around and playing Godzilla and all the new stuff, and then I was like, I haven't played Jurassic Park in a while, and I am getting really into that game again.
Yeah, that's funny. It's the same thing with me. It's it's been here for a while, but I never played it. And then once Godzilla was got to the point where Rick wasn't working on it full time anymore, then I started playing Jurassic Park again, and I was just like, this man, really do enjoy this game. And of course, my Avengers is still in its box, but I will get it out probably this summer. Is my goal to get it out of the box and in the game room.
I actually just sent off my my Avengers glove to be customized, and so it actually looks pretty impressive, and I can't wait to put it back in the game.
You make it look like the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that was that thing. It was the comic book version of the glove looks so different than what they use in the movies.
Yeah.
People are like, why is there a dishwashing glove in the game?
Yeah.
You look at the comic, that's literally what it looks like. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it does. And the cool thing is, I just sent you a picture, and you can look at it. And he had the Marvel runes, and he put LKP on my glove. So I sent it with my friends. So we have Loser Kid Pinball. That'll be in the game.
Ooh, those are nice.
Yeah.
Man, you should have made an extra one for me.
You didn't ask.
Oh, I didn't know it was coming.
His name is Alex. He'll do it for you.
I'll have to hit him up. That's awesome.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Well, and one thing I want to bring up with Godzilla is, like in Jurassic Park and Avengers, you had those side modes that you could just access from the pushing the two flippers in. Why didn't you go with that on Godzilla?
Yes.
We are. It's taking longer, but
Okay.
yeah, we're definitely gonna have something. Worst case scenario, we'll throw in like maybe what is that? Not Monsters here, the other one. Oh, Terror of Mecha Godzilla. I think we'll at least throw that in
Okay.
soon, and then work on the one that we that was actually planned from the beginning. Hopefully, we get that out, sometime this year. But yeah, it's definitely there. We will definitely put something in there because I remember when Dwight first put that in Ghostbusters, and then we put it in Jurassic. I was like, yeah, this is cool.
It's fun.
Every game should have this. Yeah. So it's definitely getting done. Not sure when, but it's definitely getting done.
Okay. I just figured when we hit 1.0, I was like, well, dang it, it's not happening. But you heard it here first, people.
Yeah, it is happening. Not at 1.1.
It's happening simultaneously with the topper, I guess.
You might be on something.
I kid.
I gotta say, Godzilla is so refined. Like I can see, I've owned all your games, and I've kind of watched as the code has evolved, and you've taken bits and pieces of each code from your other games, and Godzilla has somehow just perfectly refined that all together. Are you feeling like you're becoming like you're creating your own style through all this? Because I think the one complaint people had with Avengers is that they got so focused on the gems, they thought that's what it was about, and then you realize, well, it's really just shooting the Avengers. And so with Godzilla, it feels like there's something accomplished no matter where you're shooting, whether you're going for tanks or a bridge or even just raid. So I guess my question is, do you feel like you're starting to get that figured out and you're just kind of evolving on what you've done before?
So I have a theory here. It seems like a good percentage of the players just want to turn their brain off and flip and have fun. There are other diehards that like set your example of Avengers. Like, well, here's this perk I put on this shot, and when do I want to do it? So I have to take the approach of, not everyone wants to do that. Some people want to be told what to do, and other people just don't care. So a good example is the power up system in Godzilla was something entirely different. And when we started getting early code into the game and playing it, and I was like, do I really want to put this menu up here of what you want to buy? So basically, you're building up this power, and then you could cash it in for an award. And so and you have 6, okay, and I get all this list of things I can choose from, and then they all cost a certain amount of energy. And I talked it over with Rick, and I was like, it's just this is going to slow the game down. This is going to too many options. People just want, you know, okay, I'll give me one or the other. It's kind of like, it was a throwback idea to how the old Data East games worked,
Mm-hmm.
where, like Star Wars is like, oh, do I want at or I want 20 million? You don't spend much brain power thinking of that. So it's like, okay, yeah, one or the other. So we completely refined the power up system, just one or the other. And I think that it worked out for the best, because I haven't heard one person complain that is like, I don't understand what these power ups do. I don't understand what to choose and when. It's because we pretty much made it simple. So my designs are. I think I've learned. It's like, oh, this is what people want. They want they want some ball time. So in Godzilla, we introduced a new ball save system where you get a certain amount of time, no matter how many actual ball saves you get. And so we implemented that, even though been in all my games, it just wasn't defaulted to it.
Mm.
So this is the first game we defaulted to it, because you're plunging onto the play field, the ball drains, it kicks it back out, you drain again, then you feel robbed. So we implemented that into here, and then we noticed, well, we keep seeing the same video over and over of Godzilla kicking his son. So it's like I talked to Rick. He's like, "Can we just make this like its own little side story of Manila's quest, uh, to beat that monster?" So yeah, we added like 7 or 8 little snippets. So every time you got a ball save, you'd see a different video. So we kind of had fun with it.
Nice.
And I think people enjoy that, because at least they don't feel robbed. I mean, it's like, if you don't get the ball under control after 4 or 5 plunges, that's on you.
Right. So you have a game coming out that was just announced anyway. I know that my friend down the street is on the list to get one, and that is obviously Bond 60. So the first question is, when were you approached to do a playfield for Bond?
It was probably about a year ago. Whenever George kind of like full time took over the Bond Cornerstone, there were rumblings of the licensor wanted kind of a retro throwback old school design, featuring all the Bonds. And when I heard about this, I immediately volunteered, because I knew it was going to be a while before my next game came out. And yeah, I had a meeting with George, and he's like, yeah, have fun, knock it out of the park. And so I kind of paused the project I was working on, and pivoted over to this, and yeah, just got started.
Well, my understanding too is, we kind of talked a little bit before this, you pretty much just did the design of the playfield, whereas most of your other cornerstones, you're helping with the code, you're helping with you're doing the whole project, right? So how was it different doing just a playfield? And do you having nervousness with the code not lining up with your vision of how your playfield's going to be laid out?
So yeah, actually, when I'm on a cornerstone, I'm dealing with the licensor, I'm dealing with the artists. I'm designing accessories, so it is a very time consuming process. So in this case, yeah, it was actually kind of nice just to design a playfield and then hand it off, and then it's not to say I abandoned it, but I worked closely with Mark Panaccio, who came up with the rules for the game. And if he did something that I thought was questionable, I'd say, yeah, I'm not sure about this. And then there's some other things that he put in there that's like, oh, yeah, this is pretty cool. So between the two of us, coming up with a kind of a, I wouldn't say a simple rule set, but a more straightforward rule set than like you would have on a cornerstone. Um, so it was actually a lot of fun. It's a fun game to shoot. The music's good. It's very fast. So that was actually my goal, was to take, okay, you want a simple, no ramp game, but doesn't mean I can't make it fast. So we got 2 control gates on there. So, lots of looping shots. And, I wanted to feel like, you're in the car chase or something. I just wanted to always keep you on your toes. I didn't want the ball to just sit in the pop bumpers for an hour, and like traditional old school, classic games. It's like, we got a ball saver. We don't need to keep the ball in the pops for 20, seconds. You know, you can super skill shot around, get it right to your flipper, and go to town like you would a modern game.
So this is the first time that Stern has done 2 games with with a single license. How does that affect your choices when George is designing a game and you are simultaneously designing a game?
It didn't really affect my choices at all. Other than we're sharing the same narrator. We have separate recording sessions, but it's the same guy. Yeah, we're not. Originally, George had the spinning disc on his game too, but where he had it, he didn't like it, so I think he yanked it out for that reason. But where I have it, it's much less in the way, and I think it actually adds a lot to the game. Despite what I see people saying, "Oh no, not another disc," I was like, "Nah, this one's a little different. It's more of a fusion of the Batman disc and the Avengers disc, whereas it homes to a certain position to kind of be always in a meat zone. So when you hit it, it spins a long time because it has these special bearings that they use on the Batman, and then it homes to a certain position. So it's not like the Avengers disc at all.
And obviously, everyone's loving the idea of 4 optical spinners. Was that just like, I've got to do this from the get-go, or?
I originally had 3, and then there was the shot on the left. When you rip that figure 8 loop, it would just come flying down this left lane. It's like, wow, I can put an optic spinner here and get a bunch of spins there too. So I just told Rob, the engineer, he's like, let's just throw another spinner in here. Let's see how it does. And then once we shot it, it's like, oh yeah, that's staying. And so I was like, wow, a four spinner game. I'm not sure that had ever been done before. And then we actually have an achievement. If you get all 4 spinners going and the spinning hat, you get an achievement. You also get a bunch of points. It's like 500 points, which is a lot in that game.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember you talking on Stern Insider podcast that like your highest score was 18,000 or something like that.
That was recorded like last summer, so that was before any of the wizard modes were in. I think my high score is 80,000 now.
Okay.
Which is still so I think it goes to like 200 something, because once you completely roll all the lights, then the over the top light adds as the 110,000. So it's going to be extremely hard to roll. I'm sure Carl will take that as a challenge, but
sure.
You can only get 2 extra balls in a game, so it's going to be pretty challenging. But I'm sure someone will find a way to do it.
Can you set it to 10 ball though?
I think it goes to 5.
Okay.
All right. So you just got into the scoring, which I wanted to bring up. So when this came out and it was announced a long time ago by George, is like, hey, it's going to have reels in it. And then we kind of also, I fell into it too. I saw the release and I'm like, are you kidding? They just put an LCD screen back there. Because it's exactly where the LCD screen is.
Yeah, there was a leak of a render, which it was looked flat because it was flat. It was just a render.
Right.
But it's funny though, because even in real life, if you stand at a straight on angle of the reels, they do look fake because they are so well lit with the LCD lighting system that they have in there, that they almost do look fake. Whereas, because you're used to, you look at an EM, you see it's bottom lit by one, incandescent bulb. So it always has this kind of shadowy, like it's bright on the top and the bottom and kind of darker in the middle. But this doesn't have that. So yeah, it does. It's not what you're used to seeing as far as a score reel.
I gotta say though, I love that when you posted the picture with the bezel down or whatever.
Yeah, bezel off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really went all out.
Yeah.
Virtual panel open.
It was great.
We talked about going with a single level of retro feel. What are the advantages and disadvantages of confining your design to a single level playfield?
I mean, the advantage is like creating ramps is actually much harder than you think. Because it usually take up a lot of entrance space, and then you got to figure out where do they go and how do they interact with the other ramps. And it's actually like on my current project I'm working on, my engineer Harrison and I have been just like, it took us like 2 months to figure out how the ramps would all interact with each other. It's very time consuming. We do a lot of trial and error. So for this, there's none of that. It was just, you know, hey, it's an old school game. There are no ramps. That means I can put drop targets wherever I want. I can, have all these dangerous shots, but, lots of shots you can bank off of other shots. It's kind of a fun, like, relax your brain, just kind of have a throwback. What did these designers do, back when they were designing these games? And then I realized, oh, I have such an advantage because I'm using, CAD, and then we can 3D print, whatever we need to, instantly try, whatever shot we're trying to do. So yeah, it was actually, it was very smooth.
I was gonna say too. I mean, this game looks fantastic. I don't recall any old school game, pre DMD that looks like this. Was there any influence that you got outside of, like, is there one of your favorite games that you were trying to put on here, or was it just kind of like, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm doing?
I wanted to use, so I actually designed a shot that I never used, and I kind of like the Harry Williams designs of the, like both Cheetah and Ali. They had the rope a dope little thing, and even that Nine Ball has it too. So I was trying to do my take on that. And I was like, well, how about instead of just flying back in the middle of the playfield, I have it, loop back around. And um, so yeah, I went to work on that, and I said, wow, this works really well. Then I had it, drop down, and then it's like, yeah, this is cool. And of course, later I find out that, I guess Diamond Lady has a very similar shot. But I was like, oh, well, oops. But that certainly wasn't what that was from. But um, yeah, that was just, I was actually surprised that when someone posted that. It's like, oh, okay. I can't say I had much time in that game, but I didn't remember that.
I've never even heard of that game. I'm looking it up right now.
Diamond Lady, yeah. Somebody posted, oh, it gets very similar. I was like, and then I looked at it, I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. This looks straight out of the 70s.
I want you also to explain to us, because I heard this on the Insider podcast about these drop targets and how they're unique because somehow you can trigger them with the lockdown button.
Yeah, so these are trippable inline drop targets, which is something we've never done. Um, so, like, if you've played Metallica and somehow a ball got stuck behind a target, it would just be stuck there. So, yeah, we designed these trippable to prevent section, from happening. But then I realized, oh, we can actually take advantage of this by, you get this gadget that'll enable the action button to just drop the target, so you don't, take those dangerous shots. Of course, the trade-off is each one of those targets lights something on the playfield that helps you. So when you get this gadget, you can bypass that, go straight for multi-ball, but you don't get like the benefits of actually hitting the drops. So that's how that came about, and yeah, it's actually, I'm really glad we put that in. I was like skeptical at first. I was like, why would we need this? I don't see how the ball's going to get stuck behind the targets. But then I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take it, and I'll use it, in a gadget.
What's your favorite shot in this game?
Definitely that figure eight loop. Also, the left orbit is kind of fun, especially from an inlane. So each time you roll over an inlane, it lights a spinner, a related spinner for 10 points of spin, and that's fun. The left end lane also lights the hat for 10 points of spin. So those are definitely my two favorite shots.
I want a list of some of your favorite single level games and why you like them.
I grew up playing Frontier, Skateball, and 8 Ball Deluxe, and I like them all for different reasons. Frontier is just kind of like, yeah, here's all these dangerous shots. You need to hit these targets that you go right down the middle on you half the time. But it's like it dares you to do it, so you got to try because they're worth too much. A game like Skateball, I thought they had some really cool shots, a lot of flow for its time. Um, it had the reverse inlane outlane, which I didn't hate, which for once, because I usually hate those. Um, Obviously, 8 Ball Deluxe was just an amazing game where, the memory drop targets, the easy theme that bonus collect, scuba. That all came together, and of course, inline drop targets. So uh, those are the games I grew up playing. As I kept playing, ramps started coming in, but it's still some of my favorite games. Like even it's a terrible game, but Alien Star that was at Indisc is like, I mean, it's just a smooth shooting game, even though the rules are really bad and you're just shooting a spinner over and over again. It's just something about that, the simplicity, and also the challenge where it says, "Hey, hit these 5 alien targets." If you want the multi-ball, that's like when you shoot them, then it just puts the ball everywhere out of control. And there's just something about that appeals to me. I like the more I play pinball, the more I realize that when you're always in control 100% of the time, I think you kind of lose something. So I'm trying to slowly start incorporating like risky shots that put the ball out of control on my game. Um, I think that adds the variety you need. So like in Godzilla's case, here's this pop bumper. It's like, well, I'm never going to aim for that. And it's like, well, okay, well, I'll make you aim for it because there's an extra ball here, and there's, you have to hit it to advance some modes. So uh, that's kind of where my head was at with that. Trying to get the ball out of control like these old flat, games. It's kind of like pinball used to be.
So one question I had about Bond is, we all know that it's limited to 500, but did any of the design that you put into this compensate for maybe some competition play? Because it would be awesome to see something like this, a modern throwback in a competition.
Oh yeah, Neil McRae is already talking about how it's going to be the UK Open. So there, I mean, there's no random awards per se, so it should be fine for competition. There's no lock stealing, so yeah, it's Mark Panaccio. He went over a couple things that he did, but there was nothing egregious that you can do in multiplayer that you can't do in single player, which is kind of a shame because I don't entirely hate lock stealing. It actually adds a lot of strategy when they're asking us, what position we want to go and what game in a tournament. Sometimes you strategically pick to go first. It's just, you know, it adds a different element that you're not used to.
And how was it working with Mark? Because is this his first game doing code kind of on his own for Stern?
For Stern, yeah, he's great. He works from home primarily, so him and I would see each other like once a month, and we'd huddle around the game, play it, get some feedback to Jerry Thompson, the sound guy, and um, he's very receptive to my criticisms. Some of the things I didn't like, I told him about, and he either changed them or just trashed them entirely. And um, he came up with a lot of stuff himself. So yeah, it's my first time working with a team other than my own cornerstone team. So yeah, it was a different experience. Got to work with other guys, and it was fun.
Do you think that this design, and because originally he came from Bally Williams, and so the last code set he did was in the 90s. Do you feel like this game kind of um, helped bring him into more of a modern era because of the design and the retro feel it was going for?
Yeah, well, he his last game was Fishtails, and yeah, and he definitely threw his hat in a ring to program this. He was brought on board for our IC system stuff, and when this game was getting developed, I know he threw his hat in a ring, and George gave it to him, and so he was excited, and I was excited to have him, and yeah, I think that's a perfect launching point for him to if he wants to program games in the future, then this is perfect. Hey, look what I did, and this people like it, and if he wants to do it again, I'm sure he can.
Now, in this game, you had to choose, it looks like, the 6 villains, but every Bond movie has a villain. How did you whittle it down to the ones you wanted?
Basically, I had to choose from each era my favorite villain. Um, there was one exception. I think. I think there are two from the Roger Moore.
Yeah,
That
isn't that Odd Job and Jaws?
No, it's Jaws and Christopher Walken, his character.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
That was because we had one extra, and so it was a wild card, and I got to pick whatever I want. And I was like, well, I grew up with Roger Moore. Um, the movies. So I decided to pick Jaws because he's the most famous, and then Max Zorin, it's because that was his last movie, Roger Moore's last movie. So that's why I decided on him.
Are you a fan of Bond, or is it just something you kind of grew up with?
I grew up with Bond. Yeah. I remember For Your Eyes Only. It was on HBO. Like they would play all the time, and I'd watch that movie so many times. And it's probably not one of his better movies, but I really enjoyed it. At times just a dumb little kid, and so then every time a movie came out after that, I was like, all right, this is my Bond. And of course Jaws. Every kid growing up was like, oh, I want to grow up to be Jaws. It was he just bit a chain with his teeth, and it was just kind of a kid thing that's like, oh yeah, this movies are cool, I love them. And as I got older, yeah, I still watch the Bond. There's still not a movie I haven't seen, but yeah, as a kid you're just worshiping these action heroes of the time.
Do you and Gomez ever get in it over who's the better Bond with Connery and Moore?
No, I already know that George is always telling stories about, "Oh, we would go to the theater and see these these Connery Bonds," and I was like, okay, so I probably never went to a theater to see a Moore Bond, but so I know he's pretty passionate about Connery.
So this is your first game that is a two flipper game.
Yeah.
So tell me about that versus all your other games, because you added extra flippers in all the other games, and so this is your first traditional fan layout.
This is true. This was by design. You know, I wanted just when I think of a throwback game, I don't think of like cross shots and other things. So it's like I just want two flippers at the bottom. I want a bunch of drop targets. I want spinners everywhere. That's how I approach this. Um, in this case, like I'm trying to think of a game. I think like this stupid hot dogging game that we played in Classics 2, where it's got this flipper like built into the slingshot.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this is totally a gimmick. You're never going to use this. It's like, why is this here? A lot of those extra flippers on these games of those eras just seem like a waste. So I was focusing more on a classic game with traditional flippers in a traditional spot, and not doing anything wacky. Yeah, I would have loved it. I almost thought about doing the twin flippers like Harlem and
Oh,
Captain
that would
Fantastic.
have been
But,
fun. Yeah.
yeah, that would have been fun, but I decided against that at the last second.
So you've elevated the bar quite a bit with Godzilla. At least that's the response I'm hearing. Between all the awards it won last year, and everyone's claiming it's probably the best game ever made, and even Pinside, you've dethroned Medieval Madness and Attack from Mars. Do you feel like there's quite a bar to achieve with your next game you're working on?
I always strive to do the best I can. So I take it as a challenge. If people say that, oh yeah, he'll never top this game, then it's like, okay, well, give me a chance. So as much as I love Godzilla, I play it now and it's like, oh, there's a couple things I wish I'd done differently, and hopefully I learned from that. And just one of these days, I'll release the perfect game in my mind, and then I can just retire.
We hope that day never comes then.
Keep falling short.
Well, and listening to Gomez, he's done quite a few interviews over these last couple months about Bond and whatnot, and he said that they were going to the two cornerstones again this year. And we've kind of done the math, and it kind of puts Eddie. He hasn't done anything really since Mandalorian, and Jack Danger. He still hasn't put anything out since the JP pin. Does that mean we're not seeing anything from you this year?
Yeah, no Trippies for me next year.
Ah, and none this year either. What the heck?
Yeah. Well, it's nice to give my programmer Rick Nagels, a break.
Oh yeah.
He's been busting his ass because we had back-to-back short schedule games, and that was Avengers and Godzilla were both considered short schedule because they were kind of on each other's heels. So he, got through those, and we're like, "Hey, man, take a break. You deserve it." And so yeah, here we are. It won't have a nice, like, fully fleshed out game upon release, whereas Godzilla, I think, released at maybe 0.8. I think people saw the bones and realized, oh yeah, this is gonna be a cool game. But in reality, we were still writing rules, like 4 or 5 months ago for that. So yeah, it'll be nice to give this team a little bit of a breather.
Has it been a different experience too? And do you feel like you've been able to be more creative with your new game because of the breathing room you've received?
Oh yeah, I actually pretty much completely redesigned 2 or 3 shots on it already, just because I've had the time to like you know I do what's called a whitewood zero, where I just take existing parts and bend them and either 3D print what's missing or just like just finagle parts together and try out shots. And it's nice to be able to have that time to get the rough kinks out. And it's like, oh, this works great. This is never going to work. I need something else here. And so yeah, it's nice. I won't lie.
So how do you design a great shot? Like what makes a shot feel great?
To me, it's a combination. Is it smooth, and does it do something interesting? So in the case, we'll use Bond 60th as an example. So you asked me my 2 favorite shots. Well, that figure 8 shot is not only smooth, but it does something interesting. The left orbit shot, it's smooth. It's not necessarily interesting, but what it does, it feeds your right flipper on the fly for you to hit something that is more interesting. So that, to me, that's what's important. Is the shot itself interesting? No. Then it's got to set something up. It's either got to feed a device that's interesting or feed another shot coming up that is interesting. That's how I approach it. So I don't want to have like a clunky shot leading into an unfun device. That's not fun all around. So those are my 2 rules. If you have a clunky shot, it's got to be there for a reason. It just has to be there. Otherwise, there's no excuse.
That's how I feel about the original Jurassic Park. The loop shot's great and all, but it is clunky, and you're lucky to get to go around a couple of times.
Which loop shot?
The one on the original Jurassic
Data
Park,
East
Data
one.
East.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought you meant my spinner shot, the center spinner shot on my Jurassic, which I intentionally have that clunky because originally that flew around so fast that you didn't have time to react. So I have it kind of like slamming into the back of the panel and to slow it down. Yeah, like I said, sometimes a clunky shot, like, is that a fun shot? No, but it sets up your upper flipper shot, which is important and does have smooth shots.
So I need advice how to consistently hit the Raptor Tower shot, because that is the most elusive luck shot for me in that game.
Really?
Yeah.
That flipper should be aligned to pretty much hit it. It's the shot above that I designed to be extremely hard.
Oh yeah. No, I hit that one all the time. The one that circles around. But
are you sure your flipper's not aligned too high? Because that's
I don't know. I'll have to double
probably
check.
What it is.
Yeah, because I'm like that Raptor Tower shot. I'm like, oh, I got it like 1 out of 10 times. But I can always sling that sucker around to the upper shot.
Oh yeah, then that upper shot's death. That was never designed to be a repeatable shot. So what I did is I made it special, the tower combo. So if you could shoot that and then the Raptor Tower, I thought that was a fun 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that shot was definitely not meant to be de-looped or do anything that's super interesting. It was just meant to scream the ball out of control.
Oh yeah, no,
which is exactly what it does. Yeah.
I can de-loop it a lot.
Well, I think we actually tried code where the outpost comes up for that, and it was just like, nah, because it bounced halfway back across the playfield. And it's like, I'll just have it come flying at you.
Yeah, fast. Well, and if you forget to tap the flipper, the upper flipper, you're like, oh my gosh, it made me go down the middle.
So your new game, can we ask how many flippers you got on this one?
There are 2 full-size flippers, and there are 2 other flippers.
Other flippers. You're bringing the banana flipper back, aren't you?
I am bringing the banana flipper, yes.
Yeah. We're going Iron Maiden 2.0, but with banana flippers.
With banana flippers, and they're going to look like hot dogs.
Yeah. Yep. I miss the banana flipper days.
Nothing quite like playing a time warp.
Okay, so Keith, you are 12 years... Oh, go ahead.
I will say it has 3 flippers on one side. There's your hint.
Okay. 3 flippers on one side.
Okay. It's Saturday afternoon. You're a 12-year-old kid. You can watch any Bond movie on HBO at 4 in the afternoon. What are you picking?
For Your Eyes Only.
Haven't you seen that a million times?
Yeah, but that was the movie that got me hooked on Bond when I was young. So
Yeah,
I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it was the best Bond. It clearly was not, but that's when I grew up watching.
is that the one where they climb up like in Greece, like to that chateau on there's like an ice skater up there or something like
Yes,
that?
yes, very inappropriate relationship that she
Yeah.
tries to have with him. Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
cringe. It's cringy today.
It
But
is. Yeah. It's definitely cringeworthy, but I do remember that one. Of course, I remember the one that came out that for some reason we watched a billion times was Octopussy. So that was always, that was always an interesting Bond to
yeah,
like, hey, you want to
I
watch that?
remember I remember when that came out. I don't remember much about it. I remember after I watched For Your Eyes Only, I watched Moonraker, and I was like super excited. You know, it's Jaws in space, and then it
Yeah.
was just like, oh, this is not that good.
Yeah, Moonraker was not that good. I don't think I've seen it all the way through because they kept doing it like the ABC Sunday night movie, and I think the only reason why they kept doing that is because they probably didn't have to pay anything.
But no,
Uh,
yeah. Other than that, I liked all the Roger Moore movies that I
mhm.
saw. Yeah, Moonraker wasn't my favorite, but I like the artwork.
Yeah,
What one was it that I shared with you the other day, Scott? It makes me laugh every time because, like, for some odd reason, Bond always had to be attacked by like an animal in his hotel room, and so there's one where like, they drop a cobra.
it's a snake. Yeah, where
Yeah,
he uses a blowtorch on it.
he uses his hairspray and like a
Yeah,
match.
sprayed a lighter.
His Aquanet hairspray. Yeah,
It's funny because I had never really watched the Connery Bonds. And when I had the old school Netflix account where they sent you DVDs, I actually made it a point to watch all those, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. And I was like, I'm actually surprised because I was expecting it just to be way too cheesy and campy for me, but I thought they were great.
so how does it affect your time now that Stern, at least for the foreseeable future, Doctor George Gomez has announced that they're doing two cornerstones? How does that affect your process? Because that seems to slow it down a little bit. Because with four designers, you probably were on about a 16-month design schedule. Well, that kind of pushes you out to a 24-month design schedule.
Well, nothing changes design wise because we have to design the game like it's still coming out. When it was originally coming out. It doesn't mean we all get to take a break and not work on it. It just means that hopefully that when the game does release, it's the code's done, everything is buttoned up tight.
Hmm.
So, like I said, this is like a nice break for us to actually have the time to, have everything, you know, buttoned up. When you watch the Jack Danger stream when we do it, it's like no one's going to say, "Oh, why is there a placeholder stuff here?" It's like hopefully that's not going to happen, and um, we can deliver a kick-ass game day one.
I was gonna say, so obviously you took on 4 optical spinners, and that's a record as far as we know as many spinners on a pinball machine. Are you gonna try to attempt something like Haunted House and have like a basement, main level, upper level, and do like 9 flippers instead of 8?
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up inline spinners.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Why don't you do inline spinners? Do 4 inline spinners.
I imagine that's probably doesn't work as well as you think, but that'd be interesting.
Well, what if you fed it to like the rocket kickback on Guardians of the Galaxy and it shoots it up through 4 optical spinners?
I'm guessing you would see 4 broken optical spinners.
Okay, this is my wish list for Stern. You can just take it for what it is. My only complaint about this Bond 60 is it's limited to 500, so you're not going to get the Keith Elwin saturation market saturation that you're typically getting for a game. So here's my wish list. Sometime down in the future, they release a game that's priced for the masses with the same playfield. So just put that in the back of your head and take that to George.
Okay, I'll tell him.
I thought you were going to ask him outright and say, "Are you going to do that?"
No, because come on. I'm not going to ask that. I'm just suggesting because I would have to sell a couple games to afford this, even though I have considered it. But I still have all 4 Elwins, so I just need a 5th.
You could brag you have all the cornerstone Elwins. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. I wish I still did. There's only so much. That's the bane of our existence, right? There's only so much room and only so much money. So
Yeah, it is. It's just crazy to think about how long pinball's been around, how many games have been produced, and it's like how few, like in the past 30 years, have actually been trashed. I mean, they're all going somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, back in the day, the operator would just throw it away, but those days are long gone. So every game produced is getting parked somewhere indefinitely. So
Well,
that's why everyone's problem is space.
yeah, I was going to say, even like a decade ago, I remember when I first got into the hobby, it seemed like operators still didn't realize what they had. There was a lot of operators that run nickel arcades or whatever, and it was, once they'd run its time, they'd either trash them or, I mean, that's how I got my World Cup. I got it for like $500, and the guy thought he was ripping me off, and it didn't have a soundboard, and I was like, "I'll take it,"
Yeah.
And
Different times.
it's weird.
Okay, Keith, how many games do you have? Because you basically had a pinball business down in San Diego before you moved up to Stern, right?
Yeah, I have less than 40, more than 30, I think.
Okay. How do you choose which ones to get besides the ones you design?
I actually haven't bought a game in quite a long time, but I would always, back when I was running the business, I would buy something that, hey, is this on location anywhere else in San Diego or LA? No, then I had to have it. Case in point, I bought a Secret Service just because I had not seen one on location since I was a kid. No one else had one. I bought that. I bought a Bonsai Run for the same reason. Um, that pretty much influenced my decisions. Some games I bought because I wanted to have. I bought Walking Dead Premium just because I wanted to have it. I had no intention of operating it. So it's just how you're feeling. I bought a Sea Witch because I thought it looked cool at this bar by the ocean that we had, and people loved it, and they also loved Meteor. It's some of those games I bought for dirt cheap that ended up operating for years. It was an incredible time. So yeah, if you're an enthusiast operator, some of those games that you just don't see anywhere, they can be gold.
Well, it's funny, some of these older games too that like my wife has played Riviera recently within the last 6 months or something like that. And she's like, "That's the game I got to have." And people keep sending me listings, but it's funny because it's just not a game you think of. It's not one of those. Uh, it, I think the problem is we get in this mindset that anything made pre 70s is all the same, maybe even pre 75, and there were some unique ideas that went into those games. Like you said, they might be gimmicky to a point, but it's cool to explore that because we don't see that anymore.
Yeah, so I think any enthusiast operator is going to try to put something else that on location that nobody else is, and I think that's actually going to work in a favor of this bond being limited. Is like obviously you're not going to see them everywhere on location, but there are going to be these enthusiast operators like, well, if I put this out,
People will come.
where else is anyone going to play this? So this is going to draw people to my bar. Yeah, it works, and trust me, because I've been there. I did that. And it's like anytime I came across a gem that I didn't know if on location anywhere in Southern California, the people would come play it.
Yeah, and that's like Sunshine Laundromat having Supreme. Like I don't think I'll ever play Supreme unless I go to Sunshine.
That game is surprisingly fun.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I remember that there was a whitewood in our lab, and all of us, because this is before we were working from home, we'd have like daily tournaments on this thing. So it was just so damn fun to just play a quick, simple, fun game that wasn't that easy to beat, but it was fun.
So, are you guys still working from home, or is it because you're getting ready to move, or have you already moved to a new operating facility?
I actually don't know what's going on with that, but we are. I mean, I work. I mean, last week I went in every day, but it depends what I'm doing. If I'm writing rules or doing any kind of CAD work, I do it from home. If I'm actually working on whitewoods, test lab, anything, I'm there at the office. So the programmers are mostly working from home.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't know if it was business as usual or if COVID has now made the unnormal now normal. So
Possibly.
So Keith, what are you looking forward to in the next year?
Oh boy. Finally going to an international tournament in May. I'm going to Germany. Something has been on my lists to do, but it's everything always aligns improperly, and it doesn't happen. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
All right, that sounds good. Germany's on my bucket list too.
that reminds me. So did you qualify as the state champion for Chicago or for Illinois, or because I saw Escher did Wisconsin.
I didn't play in that. I qualified in California, but since I was out there the previous week at Indisc, I didn't want to come back. So
gotcha.
I forfeited my spot.
You figure second at Indisc is good enough.
Yeah.
Keith, always a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. We have some more updated beanies we'll get out to you.
That sounds great.
And once again, we do appreciate you helping out with flipping the script on autism, man. That's it was a great cause, and we're happy that you helped us out with it.
Yeah, that was fun. That was when I walked into it, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but Amanda was saying, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. Let's just wing it. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't think any of us knew what we were going to do. It was such a unique experience. It was pretty wonderful by the end of it, though. It was funny, though, because I was telling Zach, because he was trying to sell his Deadpool before that. And now I'm looking at him like, so you ready to sell this? He's like, you're joking me, right? Like, I've got Keith that's touched it. Now it's Roger's touched it. And,
that thing was butter. That was a great Deadpool.
Oh, yeah. And I love the mods that he put on there.
Oh yeah, the NSFW mods where you're like, wow.
just ask about Greg.
Yeah, just ask about Greg.
But thanks again. I guess if you don't want anyone to get a hold of you, where do you want them to send you email that they're not going to get a response to?
Fan letters. Just send directly to George.
Yeah. Send it to my guys.
All right, Keith. Well, definitely love all the games and can't wait to see what the next ones are laying out for you. And I know you'll do a great job. I'm really glad you crossed over from playing to designing, because you certainly impacted the newest generation of enthusiasts. So it's been a lot of fun playing and owning those games.
Well, it's good to hear that all my decades of experience can now be put to new use, but thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, Keith.
I'm going to say, it's been 5-6 years since you created Archer. Did you think this would all come about because you did a homebrew in your garage?
That was my hope. When the P-Rock system came out and, people could make their own games, I was like, God, when I was a kid, I used to design games all the time, just out of just stupid household items. And I was like, I'm going to see if I can do this. And then I was like, hey, this thing actually shoots pretty fun. And then when Stern reached out to me, I was like, yeah, let's talk.
Cool.
Nice. Well, I think it's been good for both of you. So.
Yeah, no complaints. I do miss Southern California, but
oh yeah.
Oh, you don't like the
this
weather?
Time of year, right?
The weather in Illinois is not awesome.
It is awesome 3 months a year. Yes.
Yeah.
You should come here where the our snow is at 3 foot right now, and
yeah, we have a lot of snow right now.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Awful.
Well, if you want to get a hold of us, we are loserkidpinballpodcast@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of us on the socials on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, maybe YouTube, all at Loser Kid Pinball. We're trucking along, man. I don't know what else to say, Scott.
Yeah. See you in about 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
Shut up and sit down.